This is Anthony Vanni Capildeo reading Niche. Niche. I sing for joy. Your whole body is composed of nesting places. Whose? Your whole body is composed of nesting places. You, boy, pose in place. Your whole body is composed of nesting places. Our soft lace. Your whole body is composed of nesting places. Yes. Nest. Keep me under the shadow of your wings. Keep the wings. Keep me under the shadow of your wings. He had wings. Keep me, do. Keep me under the shadow of your wings. The technique of erasure often is used to let light or air into a poem. Erasure can create blanks, riddles, or drifts. However, I wanted to do something different with Niche. Page as featherbed, page as clay, luxurious screen that you can sink into, body as columbarium, body as cliff-hovering birds. This is a loving poem where erasure and repetition and the visual form invite us to contemplate the warmth, solidity, pliability and repose of the body. I'm thinking with San Juan de la Cruz here, and lullabies.
The freedom of art is probably what takes me to part 3. This is it's a beautiful story about your last year with your mom. You know, you're 17 years old. She's battling cancer. And, you know, obviously it's on one level, certainly a very clear-eyed document about the painfulness of that journey. It's a painful journey, but it's filled with, as Rossan Kirk would say, bright moments.
Yeah.
Magical moments. You know, insight into your mom's genius. You know, it's into your poetry, the power of music. All these things are in here. So when you launched out to do this, I know you probably had to write this book. There's probably a cathartic aspect to it. Beyond the catharsis, did it kind of free you up as a writer, as an artist to move forward?
Yeah, I mean, there are many books that I've done that I've sought out right from the start, you know, whether it's a poetry collection or I wrote a critical book on the history of jazz poems. You know, those are projects that began with knowledge that, okay, this is going to be a book project. Black Pearls was not. The truth is that while I have magnificent respect for both of my parents, the one who did the parenting was my mother.
Right.
My father was sort of like, Jupiter. He was huge and
He's
phenomenal, but
he was all
out
over.
there. So,
Yeah.
so and as you can tell by that cover, I mean, she was gorgeous. She was vivacious. It's her painting that's on the cover of Mysterioso. It is, there's just so much vitality. So when she was stricken with cancer and taken out so early, and no one could believe it.
Right.
No one could house this, and I certainly could not, and I shut down. And I shut down to such a degree that I forgot most of that year. It was an academic year. It was my uh, junior year in high school, and I just didn't really remember it. And it was about 20 years later. I was coming back from helping my father recover from illness, and there was a wild storm on the West Side Highway, and Phil Schaff talking about Charlie Parker on the radio, and it all coalesced, and I suddenly started getting images from that year. And when I arrived back home in Pennsylvania, I started taking notes. And what I realized, man, was, if this was simply, okay, I want to tell a very sad story about a teenager losing his mom. I was not interested in that. What interested me, Chris, was when I realized that that same year, which was and is the worst year of my life, I was also getting all the aesthetic information I needed to be an artist. Both of those things are happening. And that duality, that sort of DNA thread of tragedy and brilliance, of destruction and creativity, when those chapters, I like to think of them as separate essays, actually connected essays. But when they started coming forth with that duality entwined, then I knew I wanted to make that book.
It kind of forced its will into you.
Yes.
You
Yes.
received these images and said, now it's time to go back, but not just the historical thing. For folks who, you don't have to be, I think Gary says that, or Gary talks about that at the end, is that, if you're a jazz person, you'll think the book was written just for you. It's not, that's not the point. This is, mother-son story that's loaded with this creative vibrancy that you see that happening real early on, to where she is also, by necessity, having to shut down, and then realizing that, I mean, the thing was very poignant to me was when she was saying, there's so much I want to tell you.
Yeah.
And then you end up writing a book, all the things she probably meant to tell you, that weaves out for you, essay by essay, like solo by solo, as it comes across. And there are these wonderful images like the butterfly, or you can, or even when you first found that the writer in yourself, what you really were supposed to write about, that was very meaningful to me. I go, I know, I can feel what he's talking about, because I was at a concert yesterday at the Los Angeles, Phil, at the Disney Hall, a wonderful place. And the guy who's talking about the music in the front, he was really great. And he talked about this Elgar being a student of Ravel. And so he goes to France, and Ravel told him, if you're here, and it took him a long time to even be accepted, but he goes, if you're here, if you try to be like me, not good. If you try to be like another artist, it's not good.
Right.
You're going to be yourself. That's good. No more powerful message to any artist. It says so succinctly, but I think that comes through in this book, is where you discover the writer in yourself too.
I think you're right. I mean, it's a coming of age book in many ways. It's a celebration of art in many ways. It's, I hope, a way of looking at tragedy and figuring out ways to somehow turn that into something positive
Yeah.
without shielding yourself from the reality of grief and sorrow and disappointment and, yes, anger and all those sorts of things.
Right.
But, again, I mean, I grew up in this house of art. I don't remember any time when my mother wasn't making something. She
Right.
was a painter, she was a weaver, she was a textile designer. She worked in clay and photographs, had sessions for animated film for my friends, and made
Sure.
marionettes and so on. I mean, it was just on and on and on. And when I think of what she accomplished in 47 years, it's actually kind of daunting, but we do what we can, you know. I like to think that she'd be pleased with some of the stuff I've done. I know that she's very much a presence in my life every day because I live with her work all around me.
Right. There's the wonderful uh, story about the book um, that you went to go back to find. Uh,
The book that the book that yeah that she wrote,
that
yeah.
she wrote for you, and
Yeah.
with your middle name in it, and which gives a little hint about your dad in there. It's like, I'm coming back to find the book. Oh yeah, I have it in a very important place. And what is it? Like 10 years later, you get to find the manuscript for the book, which reminded me a little bit of the Hemingway thing, where you go ahead and write a poem, you always start writing about it from memory. Uh,
Yeah.
and then probably got the essence of it anyway. But it's the book is filled with these joyous pieces with very, very dark overtones, and you go into this thing and you feel like you would feel for any 17-year-old who's having to deal with such monumental grief. Yet, essay by essay, there's things that get pulled up, and then at that same time, this jazz that's in you gets pulled up, and you become a jazz musician, an aficionado. I mean, all the things that worked out for you now. You're a champion of this music, and you play it and you feel it, and it's so much a part of your DNA.
It is. It absolutely is. You're right too when you make that wink about my father perhaps being a different cat. He he was a hoarder of monumental proportions. That TV series, that's all child's play, man. What he managed to ruin in his lifetime was staggering. And but that's my second memoir,
Right.
which is called Wreckage and subtitled My Father's Legacy of Art and Junk. And there too, I knew I had the book when I realized that in these same worlds that he inhabited, he was crushing them. He was bringing them down, literally bringing everything down, and while at the same time being one of the most focused artists I've ever known in my life, you
Yeah.
know. And again, it's that double helix that's
Duality.
interests me. I'm not interested so much in these memoirs, like saying, okay, um, something terrible happened to me, and then you lead up and you get the terrible thing, and then it says, but I survived. It's sort of a pretty limited arc, it seems to me.
Yeah.
And I'm much more interested in things spreading thematically
Yeah.
and working actually the way I govern poems as well, more more by theme, more by metaphor than necessarily chronological order.
I forget now who tells you that you shouldn't be afraid of travel. Is it
Yeah, but it's the travel thing is something else.
yeah.
I'm not so much being afraid of it, but to embrace it.
But that travel takes you through a lot of the other themes, things that you work on. You're in India, you're on the top of the castle playing these notes out, which is in some ways some of my favorite image of the whole book. When those notes are going out, it's like, okay, well, this is full circle. All the circumstances that bring you to that place and time and in that castle and that evening, and you go, I don't know if I should play this thing. Then, well, I guess I should. But you start playing these notes, and it's that freedom in that performance that is probably you. It's probably your true self.
Chris, I can't imagine a more favorable and loving and succinct way of looking at that. It's everything that I would want a reader to get out of that ending. So thank you. Thank
But
you.
it's beyond knowing more about you. It's just feeling more about you as an artist, and you as a teacher.
I've never been able to imagine myself as anything but a teacher, just to be honest. It just that's also really a huge part of my identity, and it's very, very, very important to me. I mean, when people ask me what I do, my answer is I'm a teacher. I and I do feel, maybe this is a little self-righteous, but teaching is one of those professions where you're absolutely giving out to the world way, as much, if not way more than what you're getting back. And I just feel that if there were so many more professions like that, what a more generous and beautiful and loving world we would have. And quite apart from that, I mean, yeah, there are slogs, there are, faculty meetings I don't necessarily want to go to, or a kid writes something and I know it's sloppy and I get frustrated. There are moments, but boy, give me this any day, man.
Yeah.
Talking about art and having them learn about themselves, and I every fall I teach a class. It's a first year seminar called Memoir and Metaphor, and these freshmen come in and they write about their lives, but they have to incorporate metaphor as they write about important things. And so I'm teaching them their writing, but I'm also teaching them how to reach in a little deeper and how to turn things into art. And how can you not love that?
Yeah. You're a lucky dude, Sascha.
Yes, I am. Wait till you meet my wife. You'll have no idea how lucky I am.
Really, just thank you, so much for sharing these three aspects. There are many more aspects to things you do, but I think it would give people at least a sampler of
Thank you.
of what you do and what you care about.
That's a beautiful thing to do with this. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and I'm honored and to be part of it. And this was nothing short of a delight. Thank you.
living back in Texas. Circa 1949, we're all sitting at the fountain at the Five and Dime. Cause he's living in some B-movie. The lines, they are so clearly drawn. In black and white, life is so easy, and we're all coming along on this one. Cause he's on a secret mission. The headquarters just radioed in. He left his baby at the dance hall while the band plays on some sweet song. And on a mission over China, the lady opens up her arms. The flowers bloom where you place them, and the lady smiles, just like Mom. Angels' wings, they're icing over. McDonald, Douglas, olive drab. That bear the names of our sweethearts, and the captain smiles as we crash. Cause in the mind of Ronald Reagan, wheels they turn and gears they grind. Our buildings collapse in slow motion, and trains collide. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
Do you know me? Would you believe I'm Bugs Bunny? I'm also the voice of many other cartoon characters. But in here, they don't care if I'm Elmer Fudd. So I carry an American Express card, the one card I need for travel and entertaining, for business and pleasure. Well, without this, the only way I'd get any attention is by saying, that's all, folks.
To apply for a card, call 800-528-8000.
The American Express card. Don't leave home without it.
just a little bit.